Sure. Dean Heistad. I'm the Vice President of Technology at Vibrent Health. I've been there about a little over 5 years, and I actually knew the CEO of Webera from a previous job and was impressed enough with him to say when, I don't know, about 4 years ago, hey, we could use some help. Do you have any, I always rely on his expertise and his judgment in understanding the sort of DevOps mentality, which I think a lot of companies or a lot of people don't. There's a lot of traditional resistance to moving away from the ops model and into the DevOps model, where the developers have more access and knowledge and agency over their systems. And I very much like that. And I'm a firm believer in the DevOps philosophy. So we got involved about 4 years ago when Vibrant was continuing to grow as we have been for a number of years, and needed a lot of help. So we're pretty pleased with what Webera has done for us and been able to accomplish. Sure. Vibrant Health is a research platform company. So we have a platform that we've developed over the years that is just fantastic for creating and managing research on behalf of large organizations, on behalf of research organizations, universities, pharmaceutical companies, whoever might be interested in doing research. We have a platform for that cohort of companies and needs. Yeah, so our main pains were growing the technology alongside the number of people that we had available to us. So we had to grow the technologies, we had to grow the staff, we had to make sure that we were either hiring the right staff or training the staff when we hired in order to be sort of the ideal DevOps practitioner, either on the development side, on the testing side, or the operations side. So those were challenging things to accomplish. And, human beings are generally good at doing one thing at a time, and we as a company needed to do 3 or 4 or 5 things really well at a time. So we started to think maybe it makes more sense to have an organization that understands and is on board with our mentality, our philosophy of practicing DevOps. So those were the challenges that we were facing. That plus it's expensive to hire people. It's hard to hire people in the United States. And if we go with staff augmentation or consulting groups that are based in the US, which we do, we're sort of trying to use the best of breed in a variety of different ways. So we have some people that are very expert in the US that are local to us or in our same time zones. We have a large number of folks in India that help us with the things that they're really good at. And we started thinking, it would be probably more effective to do a little bit more offshoring, but nearshoring in terms of having people in the same or similar time zones to us in the US to help solve those problems in the DevOps world. So those are the predominant pain. It was basically expertise, experience, and financial burden, as well as being able to focus on what we need and what we're good at. Yeah, so that's actually a multi-pronged answer. There was not any single thing. There was, number one, I had to have trust in the organization, right? We are entrusted by our customers to keep our data safe, keep it in the hands and accessible with the people that need it when they need it, but also make sure it stays out of the hands of the people who don't need it, hackers or competitors or anybody who's inappropriate. So we are entrusted with data, so we have to trust the people that we work with, right? So I needed trust in Webera, and number one, having worked with Webera before, and number two, having worked with some of the people on a temporary basis, I found them to be very capable and trustworthy. So that's part number one. And then capable, right? we could go hire people off the streets or hire college graduates or something like that who just have a college degree. And that's not very helpful to us, right? The capabilities have to be there. The experience has to be there. We have to have people that understand development, have to understand operations, have to understand security. And we found that in spades in the Webera people that we were working with and started to work with. So it's that combination of trust and capabilities that we really, really needed, and we found in Webera. That's a great question, and we've been very happy with Webera from the beginning. Really, frankly, I think part of it, I can pat myself on the back by giving some pretty good requirements as to what we needed. And of course, Webera came in at a time that we were already staffed with some people that were quite sharp and knew what to do and knew how to do it. We also had some contractors and we had some offshore people. So we had worked through a number of those initial challenges that you might have with the beginning of a partnership with a company. However, that being said, if Webera wasn't a sharp team and a very smart group of people, it could have been a problem, and it wasn't. So I think Webera has a really good onboarding process. They do a wonderful job of communicating both to the customers and internally. So when I come to a meeting with the CEO, or if I have a meeting with a project manager and I say something about maybe it's a team member or a new technology that we're using or new technology that they use that I want to see more about, it always gets followed up on. We always have great feedback loop with Webera so that when I say something, it gets back to the team and then things change. Or when the team sees a problem, they bring it up and we're able to look at it, and then the Webera team makes sure that it's a follow through. So the feedback loops are great. The initial onboarding was very positive. Yes, the initial onboarding was very positive, and we continue to really reap the benefits of that sort of standard of excellence in communication within Webera. It's evident. I mean, I don't work for Webera. I see the benefits of Webera communicating really well amongst each other and iterating, right? Coming together as a client and a vendor is always frictionful, right? You don't always know exactly how each other should fit or work together. So there's always a need for iteration and improvement and process and communications. And I think Webera is really good at that. And look, frankly, we are open to that and receptive to that. I don't believe that anything is going to be perfect, especially not the first time, and probably not the first 10 times. So as we progress and we learn more about each other and we learn about the technologies, and we change our technologies and Webera changes technologies and improves, that's an iterative process. And I'm very comfortable with that way of working. And yeah, that's a great question. Great couple of questions. What is Webera responsible for in terms of what we're doing now and the systems we're using and the processes? They are an integral part of our DevOps organization. So on the operations side, they've been very involved in a couple of different things. I mean, if you think about how operations works in the pre-site reliability engineering world, it was very reactive, right? And we still have people and occasions where maybe a customer of ours needs something at the last minute. They didn't plan for it. They didn't think through it, and they need something quickly. So we do some amount of work on an ad hoc basis, unplanned work. And Webera has been very good at helping us work through that. Then in the SRE world, it's site reliability engineering. So site reliability is important, obviously. It's probably of critical importance and paramount importance. But not only is the security and the availability of the systems important, but how we make sure that we use our team and our technologies smartly. So, for example, I don't want to keep doing something manually when it happens over and over and over, and we need to find a solution for that. So we have engineering teams. I have 3 engineering teams, actually 4. I have 4 engineering teams that work on different pieces of the puzzle. So Webera is integrally involved in our data pipeline systems. They've been working on the system since its inception and helping architect this, not only the solution for the data pipelines, but also continuing to work on number one, advancing that solution, and number two, educating and making sure that the developers that are working on that system have the resources and the access that they need to have control over their own destiny. So that's an important part of our system of thinking, and Webera has been able to fit into that. Before Webera, we had a number of systems that were challenging, that we hadn't really made it efficient and automated in terms of either self-healing or giving people self-service capabilities on the development or the testing side. So we knew we had to have some help. The first thing Webera did was wonderful, and is probably appropriate to do it this way, was work with the development team and the test teams to respond to all of that ad hoc, that unplanned work that we were getting that was keeping our engineering teams, our site reliability engineering team, from working on the long-term solution and making efficient use of the time. So that was fantastic. It was good that it was in our time zone, that Webera is in our time zone, that our teams could work together, that there was no language barrier. There were a number of things that really helped us sort of onboard Webera as an immediate benefit. And then as we went, I knew, I don't want to pay any amount of money to somebody as a company, as a contractor, as a vendor, to do something over and over and over that's very manual. I don't think human beings are really sort of ideally designed for that. So I came into this relationship knowing that we were going to ask people to do some things over and over, like providing access to people who didn't have access to databases in a variety of different environments. So giving that access and just creating the access for people that we didn't have before we had an automated solution for it, I knew would give Webera some expertise in being able to look at and start figuring out and architecting a solution that was sustainable and growable. So that's what's happened. Now we're in a place where these requests for database access are automated, and very pleased with that, because that means developers and testers don't have to wait for somebody 12 hours, 24 hours to get access to a system that they need to do their job. So very happy with that. We also have another project, which is dashboards for executives on our system data for our customers. That was a very quick win with Webera to create a small team that could go in using the data that we had used originally to create some dashboards, and then extend that, and then create all new functionality and wonderful new capabilities with an executive dashboard. So again, we were doing several things that were sort of manual in nature that I wanted to get off of the plate of our staff and into the hands of a team that could, number one, take care of those problems right away, and number two, could also create and architect a solution for us. So that's the power of Webera in my eyes. I can think of a number, and whenever I talk to friends in Silicon Valley or in other companies, even out here in the DC area, I'm often thinking about how they're operational. This is my mindset, right? I'm VP of operations. I think of things at a high level of, wow, how does that system work? Or how does that group of people work together? Is this organization somebody that wants to do a DevOps style of operationally savvy development? And if they are, whether or not they are savvy, I think Webera can do a great job of bringing that expertise and that knowledge and that experience and that mindset to an organization that says, hey, we've got 2 developers, or we've got 20 developers, or we've got 200 developers. We need to do a little bit better or make things more efficient, or we're overloaded and we need somebody to come in and help us with the overload and help us think through automated solutions. So small companies, medium-sized companies, even large companies, I think can benefit from the Webera expertise and systems and mindset. I'm pretty convinced of that, and I believe that is sort of the ideal scenario for a customer to look at Webera with the idea that I have a problem. Is it solvable by technology? Maybe. Do I have the staff and the resource to do it? No. Okay. Then go find somebody like Webera to come in, do that work in the same time zones to augment your team's staff or consulting teams that can do that work right now. Yeah, we're already growing this partnership. We've grown it, like I mentioned before, about with adding a dashboard development team that was operationally savvy from within Webera, which is great. We're looking at growing. Some people think about how you should measure the benefits of your operations team or your site reliability team as in relation to the development and testing staff. And if you have CI pipelines, if you have automation tests that run in those pipelines, if you have a continuous delivery pipeline, those things add demand and add stress on the site reliability team. And having the number of developers and a ratio and be able to compare to the number of operations staff, okay, that's one metric to use to determine whether or not you've got the right size of your operations organization. There are metrics out there. In our organization, we have about a 1 to 20 in some places and a 1 to 10 ratio of operations to development and test staff. There are some organizations that think 1 to 10 is ideal. There are some organizations that think 1 to 3 is ideal. So somewhere in between there probably lies the most efficient. Any company that has less than 1 to 10 probably doesn't have enough operational staff, or maybe doesn't need it because they're not doing pipelines and automation testing and all of those things, continuous delivery, that it puts a demand on SRE teams. So our metric is I think a little low, and so we're looking to grow. We're growing internally with staff, we're growing with other consultants, we're growing offshore in India, and we're growing with Webera. So as we are successful adding more development, adding more automation testers, adding more pipelines, adding more code, we need more operations staff. So SRE is a crucial component of that, and doing DevOps well is a critical component to keeping our ratio low, and our metric for success should be as effective as it can be. And having folks like Webera who are smart and experienced on board is a real win for us. Yeah, no, I would absolutely choose Webera again. I mean, we're still number one using Webera, and we're growing our commitment to Webera. So we're quite happy. I mean, we put our money where our mouth is. If we're happy, we continue to pay, or we ask to grow. So absolutely happy with Webera's process, technology, pricing, and capabilities. And so definitely, to my younger self, I would say, yeah, do that again. No problem with that decision. For companies that are struggling with the ideas on whether or not to use Webera, you got to ask yourself, are you completely happy with your DevOps mentality within the entire organization? If you're not, sure, you can make adjustments in development, but teams that know how to do this and have seen this with other companies that are wrangling with the same problem, those are the ones you want. I want a company that can help me through something that I don't know how to get through because they've done it before. And that's Webera.